So, we've had a look at 2 games from the second round, and I feel like I can't leave the second round behind without this game between Varuzhan Akobian and Awonder Liang. Akobian was the only one, along with Wesley So, to win in the first round. So interesting to see what happens in the second round. Varuzhan had the white pieces and he opened with d4. After knight f6, c4 and e6. Knight to f3. Now b6 would be the Queen's Indian, which we saw in so many matches by Alpha Zero, if you've been following my channel, or chess news in general. But Awonder Liang went with d5, and after takes, knight c3, we have transposed to the Queen's Gambit declined. Queen to c2, and bishop e7. Now bishop g5 would transpose to the absolute main lines of the Queen's Gambit declined, but Akobian elects to develop bishop to f4, which is a very viable diagonal as well. Now Liang goes with bishop e6, which is not on the list of the most common moves here, but in general it's a decent move in these positions. Bishop to e6, h3, creating a flight square for the bishop, which comes in handy after knight to h5, hitting the bishop, and now bishop h2. Now here Awonder spent another move on his bishop to trade this, well, fairly well positioned bishop. It's a nice long diagonal, so Awonder decided to neutralize this bishop immediately, even at the cost of a tempo. Bishop takes and queen takes. So tempo means if you move the same piece twice, you're losing time, you're losing a tempo. e3, knight to d7, so both sides get their pieces out. h6, I mean black can't castle because this battery would hang the pawn on h7, so h6. And white plays a3. This is not to prevent anything coming to b4, it is to prepare b4, which is one of the standard plans for white, to play b4 and initiate a minority attack with b5. Knight h to f6. This knight, okay, it kicked the bishop earlier, but now it has finished its job. There are no more opportunities for the knight here, so it retreats. Knight to a4. In some cases we can come to c5. Okay, b4 is coming. White wants to play on the queen side. It's quite clear. Both sides castle. And now Awonder decides to prevent this knight from jumping in, and he plays b6. Now this creates a weakness on c6, but he figures it's quite easy to protect it. White attacks it, and black defends. But now bishop a6, and here, okay, the rook is attacked, and if the rook goes to any of these squares, then the bishop enters with bishop to b7, and then we can maybe take on c6. Also, we can take immediately on c6 if the rook goes to any of these squares, so rook c7 is a forced move. Now, having gone to a4 and the c5 square being taken away from the knight, just like the knight on h5 retreated to f6, the knight on a4 retreats to c3. This also carries a sneaky threat, because we can now play knight b5, because this rook is undefended and the battery of the queen and bishop will pick up this rook. So knight b5 is threatened, but now a sneaky move here by black, b5, as Arslan Ilyasova hits a 3 for the Sixers. Exciting matchup. Okay, so b5, interesting moment, because earlier, before he played b5, knight b5 was threatened, but now if you take on b5, the 6th rank has been opened with the pawn move. So c takes b5, queen takes c7, and now queen takes a6. This is the idea of b5. So here black would have 2 pieces for the rook, and white would have a rook and a pawn, so pretty equal, I would say. So b4 was played by Akobian. After b5 he played b4. And at first you have to worry about this guy. It doesn't have a square, so if black were to play knight b8, you have to have a response. And fortunately now we can play knight takes b5, but chances should still be around equal, either if queen takes c7 or queen takes Okay, in this case white is probably better, but in case of queen takes a6, I think chances are around balance. I think white is slightly better because of the way these pieces are crippled, but in general material is around equal. But after b4, Awonder played knight to e8, and this protects the rook on c7, so white has to do something about this guy now, and he plays a4. Preparing to get this guy out of enemy territory. Queen takes b4, okay, that's a pawn, but we're going to win it back. A takes b5. Awonder decides not to take on b5, but to play c5. And here, Akobian took on b5. He could have played b6, which looks interesting, but I think black gets plenty of compensation. The point of b6 is to play knight b5 and terrorize this rook. But black can play, okay, rook c6, then bishop b7. But black can play c4 to sack the rook. And after knight takes c7, knight takes c7, something like this, b5, these pawns give plenty of compensation for black, and they should be around equal. But Akobian, he took on c5, queen takes, okay, knight is attacked, so we defend, rook c1, knight to b6, knight comes into this very nice outpost, knight d4, a knight in the center of the board, defended, a very nice piece. White is slightly better. His center positioning is slightly compensated for black by this bishop being out of the game, although it does control some squares. So all in all, I think white is for choice here. But now a blunder by black. Knight to f6. This loses control of the c7 rook. Now can you find the move that basically should have won the game on the spot for white here? White to move and basically win. Pause the video if you have to. White could have won here with knight takes d5. And the point is, of course, queen takes d5, we take the rook. So we get the rook and a pawn for a knight, which is winning for white. And queen takes c2, we already took a pawn on d5, now we take on f6 with check, Czechoslovakia, a nice Zwischenzug in between move. We have won a pawn, and okay, I would take with the rook. And this is a, I would say, winning position for white, up a pawn, better structure, better pieces, especially this knight. So this should win. However, after knight to f6, Akobian simply overlooked this relatively simple tactic, to be honest, and played queen to b3. Play continued, queen to d6. White stands slightly better structurally, especially because of the isolated pawn and the fantastic knight, but nothing concrete yet. So some maneuvering here, knight to a4, bishop d7, the knight goes back. And okay, white doubles on the c file. Knight c to e2, offering some trades. Knight jumps into c4. Knight to f4, he's eyeing the d file pawn now. And now we are actually at the business end of the game. Knight to e6, offering a trade, which Akobian accepted. And would you believe it? Here, we're in an otherwise slightly better position for white. Like we said earlier, this weakness, and especially this square for white, gives white the upper hand, but not by much. But here, after having played a relatively good game, and after having drawn against Fabiano Caruana in the first round, an uncharacteristic blunder by Awonder Liang. He plays rook e to e7. But this has a huge problem. Can you identify what Akobian played here? He did not miss his chance twice. He missed knight takes d5 earlier. But what did he not miss in this position? White to move and force immediate resignation. Did you pause and come back? Did you get it? If you got it, well done. Rook takes on c4. And with the queen being undefended on d6, this is a clear piece for white. Black can't take with a d pawn. Rook takes, rook takes. White is up a piece and still has a much better position, so this is simply game over. So yeah, Akobian moves on 2 out of 2. And he is the only one, along with Wesley So, who still has a theoretical chance for the Fischer prize, which is a full house, 11 out of 11, which gives $64,000. But that's not very likely at this point, but it's still alive. So it's a pipe dream, so we'll keep on dreaming. And we'll see what happens in the third round. Thanks for watching, and if you liked the video, give me a thumbs up, leave some comments, share the video, and help me to grow here on YouTube. I would like to crack 5K before the end of April, and you can help me do that. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye bye.